Dear trading friends, a short update video on Bitcoin and Ethereum. We won't be covering altcoins today, but I will be on a live stream later today. And there we'll take another detailed look at everything. What happened? I don't think I need to say much. We've almost completely picked up the $86,000 liquidity. We can also see that a trading bot was activated again there. Exactly what I mark here. Because there were 150 million US dollars in long positions just on Binance at 86,302 US dollars. There was a liquidity cluster of 700 million US dollars, and there was also a bit more above and below that, so that was currently a sniper entry with the bot. But we shouldn't celebrate too early, we could still go under. And I also want to point out Mars. I'm not too bearish right now, I think we're seeing a recovery because we have a wonderful bullish setup. There is a divergence on the 4-hour chart. We haven't tested the Fibonacci retracement level for quite some time, and there's also plenty of liquidity above us. Additionally, and we can already see this now, 80 million are waiting here on Binance, at least at this price break. That also lines up with the new Fibonacci level. At the same time, and I looked this up for you, we'll take a closer look at it in detail. There are 230 million US dollars in short positions between 100,000 and about 97,300 US dollars. But we must not forget, this is something that's currently worrying me a bit. I think we still have hardly any liquidity left. It's there, but we'll see that when I go through it live with you now. Unfortunately, we have, and that's not so nice, 270 million US dollars in long positions placed here by institutions in whales. Where do we see that? Of course, we see that in whale orders and large trades. We also see what I showed you earlier. In this chart here, this area with the 150 million US dollars in longs, that should be taken care of for now, because we've entered here, picked up a lot of those orders, and now, as you can see, they've been removed. We had the recovery, and now the orders have on, and that means they were no longer being filled, and so they were simply removed as well. To me, this suggests that we're now more likely to see a move toward a recovery. I'm going to remove the entry here now so we can make things a bit clearer. I'll also remove what we have here so everything looks a bit clearer and we have a better overview. So what's my assessment now? For me, there are two possibilities. Now with Bitcoin, which is wonderful. And in the last video, I talked about a 1-hour chart divergence that we had. Now we have a larger one on the 4-hour chart. On Telegram, I pointed out again that this could actually be a possible reversal signal. This means we finally made a lower low, while the RSI has made a higher low. And that could indicate a sign of reversal. We've actually gotten a wick into the liquidity, which was incredibly important for it to be taken out at least once. At the same time, there's the possibility of this reversal pattern in the form of a divergence. With my trading strategy from a Fibonacci perspective, we now have two possibilities. Possibility one, since this peak here where the 230 million US dollars in shorts are also positioned, if we pull it down, we have not touched the Fibonacci levels even once and have now made a new low. And now let's take a look at this. If I apply that to the low point here in this area, I'll see now if I've accurately located the low point right here. That was the low point. Now let's look at this. Where is it located? 0.5 Fibonacci. The 0.5 Fibonacci has a possible short reversal at 92,058. But that's also where the $80 million short position is at the current time. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we see this go even higher, up to 93,000 or 95,000. But we'll see that in a moment on the liquidation heat map. I see this as a current possible recovery and all. But if we're unlucky now and the overarching recovery level, which I'll quickly sketch out here again, so that means from here down, and the recovery here doesn't quite make it yet. It could be that we go even further down and I have to pull the Fibonacci level even lower, and we only get a later recovery level. We must never lose sight of that. You have to take probabilities into account. But at the current moment, this is our scenario, so I am speculating on that, so that we move up here, because of liquidity, because of gaps, and so on and so forth. By the way, regarding the gap, we currently also have a very nice CMI gap here, which goes up to 89,500, 89,600. That's about how much US dollars it covers. Also very nice, especially when we think about the US markets opening later, that this will become an interesting price level, so that we can target this area here. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. But what if not? What if we don't move up here? Then things are currently looking rather bad. In that case, we might not even reach this higher level Fibonacci level, because we would have a second one. And if I'm not mistaken, we might already be seeing the rejection there. That would be from this high to the current low. No, we haven't reached the Fibonacci level yet, but even on a short-term basis, that would be an interesting level. You can also see after the long consolidation that we at least touched the 0.5 or 0.618 Fibonacci here. What could that mean? It doesn't mean that we'll immediately make a lower low and go down again. No, we briefly go into liquidation. Heat map, we go into it now for the next 48 hours. I just want to show you something here. We have a strong liquidity box here at 86,400, but it goes down to about 86,200. One possibility, which often happens with the divergence, is that we now get a strong recovery here. We move into the Fibonacci levels here, get another wick exactly into these liquidity zones I just mentioned, which could also give us a kind of double bottom at the same time. And maybe if everything goes well and we don't make a lower low, we'll see a recovery. That means you could try this as a risky move. I wouldn't short here now because of the bullish divergence, but if we don't break above this and finally leave it behind, I still see the possibility that we go into either the 0.5 or 0.618 level. But that's how I would see it at this point in time. But let's take a look at the next level if we go a bit higher. Now, it gets interesting, of course, 2 weeks and 1 month from the liquidation, looking at how things stand right now. And you can see this cluster here at 93,531 US dollars. Still interesting as ever. Before this big dump here, it consolidated for a long time. So this area too, at the current moment, 93,500 US dollars. Would that fit in somewhere here? At a Fibonacci level, as we mentioned, 93,500 US dollars. That would actually be the 0.618 Fibonacci here. Of course, we also have to be careful with the large orders, or rather pay a bit of attention, because we have these big clusters here that we can see. Down here is the very, very strong cluster, so you can also see again how large the orders are here. 206 million just on Binance, then another 45 million are bought on spot, and 22 million, or rather 23 million on spot. Spot on Coinbase without even including other exchanges. Accordingly, we also have at the top, the current amount is a bit lower than it was before, but we have to be careful whether more sell orders come in here, because I'll show you that in a moment with Ethereum. So that's the current situation for now. It gets more difficult, and I'm telling you this with Ethereum. With Ethereum, I really have to say, it doesn't look so nice. Here too, we again have the possibility, and I think we've now triggered the Fibonacci level, if I'm not mistaken. You can actually see how perfectly it was hit again. Take a look at this. 0.618 was actually triggered here, and 0.5 as well. There could be a further bearish continuation here. Of course, we also have to look at what our leader, Bitcoin, is doing. That will tell us more precisely how things could continue there, depending on whether it rises or not. But what's interesting at this point, after I've drawn the Fibonacci level here again, from up here to the new low, is that we still haven't. It hasn't even reached the 0.5 or 0.618 Fibonacci yet. We have 188 million US dollars in short positions here. Only on Binance, as I found out here. And if I go in here, and let's take a quick look at this with Ethereum, so you can see what I mean here. Here, the number of sell orders has increased massively. Unfortunately, we have an incredible amount of buy orders here, and you can also see how perfectly it was dipped, and now a recovery is coming in. But what worries me a bit is that we have even more sell orders here than before, and that's what I mean. I'm talking about this area here, and I'll mark it off. I also have to carry this over. Then we see here, we now have 210 million US dollars. That's why I have to correct this. 210 million US dollars being shorted on Binance. And at the same time, nearly 17 million US dollars in spot are being sold. We're only talking about Binance here, not the other exchanges. That means I can roughly add another 228 million US dollars here that are currently waiting to be shorted. 228 billion. Binance only. So we'll make another price adjustment up to a price. 2,970 to 3,170. That means I can go a bit further down here. That's actually something I don't really like right now, that there's such massive selling pressure on Ethereum. Volume coming in. Of course it's very widely spread, but 228 million is just insane. And accordingly, that would of course be interesting now because it goes up so high. 3,077, 3,146, these two Fibonacci levels. Ethereum actually worries me a bit when we look in here and see how much order volume has already come in. And what was filled here? In terms of orders, I want to show you that again, exactly up to this area. It was already a lot, and that's not even counting. 2.43 billion were put into Ethereum just on Binance online. Then we have another 2.31 billion on OKX, and then we have a few spot purchases as well. So over 5 billion, more than 5 billion, was put up here to get this reversal. Now, the question is, will they accept us going even lower, or will more just be bought up? Next interesting level, 2,296 to 2,097. Here too, I've already prepared something in the signal group for the Coinabot. A little something prepared. So what do we have here? Yes, a little over 100 million as well, which have already been prepared. So I have to say, Ethereum at the moment, it's worrying me. I don't find it all that great right now, but even here, I'm still waiting, because if Bitcoin rises, Ethereum will very likely rise as well, and also hit its Fibonacci levels. And now it's important to pay attention to whether we'll go even lower again, or if we'll finally manage to reach this recovery up to the Fibonacci levels. Because here too, just to wrap up on Ethereum, Binance 2 weeks and also a bit lower. What do we have in there now? I'm really only including Binance here. Here we have the 3,410, of course. That looks interesting. Just like with Bitcoin, on a 2-week basis, we're actually very high here as well. A very interesting level. This also looks good. 1.2 billion are lying here in total at 3,136. What's important now, of course, is the weekend. What's happened now is that we've had a wick to the downside. Where could it go from here? And that could mean these prices, 2840, 2848, 2860. What might still be interesting in terms of long orders, if we look into the smaller timeframes, could be possible Fibonacci levels, which I might go through with you, so that we now slay back and forth a bit technically with Fibonacci, because we've made new higher lows here, and here a high from the previous ones, and here a new high. So it could really be the case that we're now trying here. A breakout, I don't want to guarantee it yet, because what did we see here, guys? And I can only tell you, watch my videos about the Fibonacci levels. It's no coincidence that this massive surge stopped right here with this correction. And if we look now, where could the next one be in order to continue the trend? Also, quite simply, if we take a look, the next levels would be at 2.85 to 2.74. That means exactly where the breakout happened, here from the high, that it might dip back in there and then possibly rise further. That's how it could look at this point in time. And now, just very briefly to finish up, the trading bots. So right now we have several trading bots running here. One of them is currently at a loss with Bitcoin. We can see here that the first one was triggered perfectly. The sniper entry hit its take profit right away. At the target level, which is also my first target, at around 88,300 US dollars or so. Then I have a few long bots that were opened at Fibonacci levels. This very first bot is currently the only one of the Bitcoin bots that is at a loss. It actually had its entry here at the 0.618 Fibonacci, but because it kept taking profits here as partial profits, it has now already moved its entry price down to 90,970 US dollars. So basically that's its break-even price now. The second bot here had a similar situation. It had an entry price here at this liquidation level, and has also already moved its entry price further down. And the third one, that was last night, the sniper entry. With this liquidation hand, it's up here now. And now you might also understand why when I write for the bot that I'm risking 1%, or for this trading bot I'm risking 0.5%, or maybe 2%. That has to do with the fact that I want to hedge myself on the downside. And in case one bot doesn't work out, I don't get stuck in a long bot, but can open more further down, just like in this case. Then we also have Ethereum. Ethereum looks very similar. The first Ethereum bot unfortunately hit the stop loss, but that's just part of it. The second Ethereum bot also had a wonderful entry down here and has, well, actually it had its entry further up, but due to the grids it generated, it has now moved its entry down here, and it's also in profit. Then we also have the Dodge bot. The Dodge bot is also not far from its break-even price, from its current one. Let's not forget, it also had an entry at the 0.618, but because of all the grids it placed here on the side, it has now moved its entry price, or rather, break-even price down here already. Then we still have Pump, which is running wonderfully as a grid. Trading bot, it just goes up and down all the time, which is really nice to watch here, because it keeps placing grids on the side. Overall, it's also more in profit than what is shown here, because our break-even price is also a bit lower here. I would estimate it's somewhere in this area, but for now, we're just letting it run like this. And XRP, we have something similar there as well. XRP has its bot, which I started here. Unfortunately, also, this was at the Fibonacci level. We'll have to check exactly where that is, plus liquidation. I think the entry was here, or was it even here? I can't remember exactly now, but its current break-even price is in that area. That means it's also at a loss. So we have a balance here, about 50-50, of trading bots that are in profit and in loss. for everyone who was there from the beginning, those who joined later, and the bots that were in loss and opened at lower levels. Of course, they also have a completely different advantage here. That's another point to add. Exactly. Otherwise, that's it for now. Feel free to subscribe and leave a like. And check out the playlist here as well. Maybe the simplest trading strategy, but hardly anyone is using it yet. There, I really have the Trading Learning Step-by-Step to Pro Trader playlist, where you learn everything I showed you today with the level 2 data, and how you can use all of it for free. But the crypto trading bot tutorial is also super interesting if you want to learn a bit more about exchange-based trading bots. Alright, with that, I'll say see you next time. Bye-bye.